You're listening to the Health Powered Productivity Podcast by RaderCo. I'm Marcey Rader, founder and chief productivity lead. This podcast aims to give you and your team bite-sized, time-saving, focus-boosting, health-improving tips you can implement right away. Today, I am talking about why I'm stepping away from blog writing and wrapping up this podcast series at 100 episodes. So this year, I attended the National Speakers Association Thrive and Influence conferences, and every artificial intelligence session that I could take, I did. And I believe it was maybe about 6, and in 4 of those, I raised my hand and asked the futurist that was presenting if they thought blogs were dead. And the consensus was yes. And here's why. SEO, which used to just be keyword stuffing, isn't as meaningful anymore. And the algorithms have evolved, and it's focused on quality over quantity, which is a good thing, and relevance over repetition, also a good thing. But the old tricks don't work like they used to, and AI-driven content often focuses on optimizing for search algorithms rather than human readers. And this can lead to an oversaturation of technically SEO-friendly content that needs more depth and originality. The next reason is because of generative AI, and this significantly reshapes how people search for information and interact with websites. And, a traditional search engine increasingly incorporates AI to provide more personalized results. Also a good thing. So instead of just presenting a list of links like it used to, now we have the AI-generated summary at the top, the very top of the search page. And I use this myself. It's great, but it means that users get the information they need without having to click through to a website. And so it reduces overall site traffic to any blog or website. And this is called a zero-click search. So again, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, if you're in the Google Chrome extension and you search like best way to boil an egg, then you will get an AI summary at the top on the best way to boil an egg. It doesn't make you click onto a website. And most of the time, I don't even need to search anymore. And as AI tools become more common, it is just an explosion of content that is being generated because now anyone can write. And I'm doing some little air quotes here. And it makes it harder for any single piece of content to stand out. And, even with really well-crafted, valuable content, to get noticed in this sea of AI-generated articles is really challenging. And as it is, increasingly used to write blogs and articles, some readers, including me, are becoming very skeptical of the authenticity of any online content. And the skepticism leads to lower engagement rates, and people question the credibility of what they're reading. That would also include me. So I use the analogy of Botox. AI is like Botox. When someone gets Botox, and they get too much of it, we notice, right? We're like, oh, their face looks frozen, their eyebrows don't move, it looks terrible. Botox is terrible. And we notice it. But if somebody just uses Botox to enhance their features, you don't even know that they've used it. It just looks natural. And AI is the same. If you overdo AI and you use it to write your entire article, most people, I would say most people, but for certain, like I feel like I can tell. And I've called out some of my friends about it. I'll like message them and say, you did not write one bit of that LinkedIn post. I can tell just because of all the words. Like one thing ChatGPT loves to use is the word delve. Let's delve into. Nobody delves, right? We dive. We don't delve. People don't talk like that. But if you use just a little bit of AI or you use it to enhance, then it's natural. It sounds natural. It feels natural. So I consider it like Botox. So here's how I use it. Here's how we use it at RaderCo. I wrote out all of my thoughts for this podcast episode in corresponding blog post. I then put it into ChatGPT and said, is there anything about this content that could be enhanced? And then, and I might, it's a more detailed prompt than that, but I'm just being general right now. It spits back a rewrite of the podcast. I will look at it side by side with what I wrote. And I will take a line or two here or there and swap it out. But I do not use that as my podcast or blog post. For one thing, it doesn't sound exactly like me. And there are some things that AI does that it's just like not how people talk. Kind of how we can tell when it's an AI generated image. There's just something a little off about it, right? The other way we use it is when this podcast episode is completed, I will upload the podcast into something called Cast Magic. Cast Magic will give me 10 titles to use for the episode. It will also give a summary of the episode, some keywords to use, ideas for a LinkedIn post. It can, give a lot of things. Ideas for a blog post. I use that to give me ideas for the final product. Now, there are a lot of people out there that will tell you that they write 100%. They would not admit that they use it. But I'm not going to be that way. So I definitely use it like Botox. It is there to enhance, but I don't depend on it. I still have to take good care of my skin myself. The other way we use it, I use Grammarly. I love Grammarly. And it will make suggestions on a way to rephrase a sentence. And I will use it that way as well. In the beginning, when ChatGPT first came out, I admit, as I was learning it, sometimes I would take too much of their stuff. And it was not me, and I didn't like it at all. And so I've now done enough research, training, and so on. Like I said, I attend every AI session that I can when I go to conferences. I feel like I have a good balance now. When we think about, going back to blog posts and why we're not doing them anymore, the other thing is people are just skipping search altogether. And they're actually using ChatGPT or Gemini to find the answers. One of the futurists said, I ask ChatGPT everything now. I don't even, go to the Google search engine. And I do that too for some things. But unfortunately, it's not always correct. So you need to be a smart AI user. Take some training in it. This is a serious technology here. From a time perspective, because time is all we're about, it's not finite. We don't have, you don't have endless amounts of it. Writing a really thoughtful, engaging blog post takes time that we could spend elsewhere. In an era where every minute counts, I have decided that we need to allocate our energy to where it makes the most impact. And when I started this podcast, because our podcast, for the last couple of years, almost all of our blog posts have been a takeoff or basically a transcript of a podcast episode or a video snippet. And when I started it, I aimed to create a library of really short, impactful episodes that I could share with my clients or teams or companies. They're really just mini training sessions. And the idea was to do 100 episodes and see where that took me. And we will reach that milestone in the next episode. And the next one is my 50 by 50 list. It's my 50th things that I committed to doing before I turned 50. And also talking about how reflection, prioritizing, and planning goes into that. But, I'm excited about the library we built and how teams use different podcast episodes as pre-work discussions. And that's been, our pre-meeting work. And then they have discussions about them. I love that. So the next episode will be our final episode for now. And I might revisit the podcast in the future. But for me, it's really time to close the chapter. I feel like I've said a lot of what I wanted to say, and I don't want to just keep something up to keep something up. And, it takes, for a 15-minute podcast episode, we spend about 3 hours between writing it, recording it, editing, creating the graphics, writing the blog post, scheduling the email to send to our list, posting it on LinkedIn. And so it is not 15 minutes. It's, so that could be anywhere from, if it takes, 2 to 3 hours per episode, 4 to 6 hours a month that we're spending. So while it's the blog and podcast are taking a back seat, the focus is going to shift to, new ways to provide value. We'll continue to focus our efforts on top tier training and resources through channels that really align with our industry and where our clients are heading. And that may be more video, more short form video. But, the content remains here as a resource, and who knows, maybe we'll meet again in a new format. But until then, keep prioritizing what truly matters. Re-look at what kinds of things you may need to sunset. And I have an episode on sunsetting programs and rebuilding from ashes. You can check that out. And, continue to look at what you're doing. And if it's still giving you and the people that you're doing it for the value that you intended. Thank you for listening to the RaderCo Health Powered Productivity Podcast. The show notes link to any resources mentioned. If you found this podcast valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone you know who could benefit. For more bite-sized tips, our top recommendations, and to learn more about working with myself and the RaderCo team, from consulting and coaching to speaking and more, visit helloraderco.com.